listening to an exclusive on PodHub Network. Your city, your podcast.
To the delight of this crowd, McClendon marches down the dugout steps with first base. McCutcheon's throw. The runner breaks to the plate. Here's the throw. Wow. He is out. The Buccos win. That ball's hit well to left center field. Back toward the track. And that ball is gone.
You are listening to the North Shore 9 podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, make sure to watch NS9 Live every Thursday on Twitch and help support by becoming a patron. Let's go Bucks!
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, as always, we got Jim. We got Tyler. This is the first time we've done NS9 Live, right? Like in this form since what, the middle of December?
It has indeed been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while because we haven't really had much to talk about.
Shocking.
But I think that changed. That changed today, didn't it?
Why did it change?
I don't know. I feel like something happened today that was pretty big news.
Was it though?
Yes.
Here we go, Tyler. Always got to ruin it.
Man. Yeah, I know. I do. I'll let us explain our points of view and then just tell you why it doesn't mean shit.
You know, it's been so long that we've done this that things aren't quite aligned. I'm fixing on the fly right now. We're good. I want to center Jim a little bit here, but
all right.
But yeah, baseball has returned. Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially back today as of, I guess, 7 p.m. What happened to 6, or did I read that wrong?
Well, 6 o'clock is when they officially ratified the deal. 7 o'clock is when free agency began.
Okay.
So I guess that's when it. Yeah, that's when it actually went into effect. So 7 o'clock, things are live again.
Yeah. So again, I guess that's what I read wrong, because I swear I read somewhere that 6 o'clock free agency started. So that's why I had the countdown. 6 o'clock came. I said, here we go. And then they're like, I just saw someone else 53 more minutes. And I was like, wait, what?
DiNardo was all tuned up just for the Pirates free agency acquisitions.
Yeah, man.
Right. And I don't think anything has I haven't seen a single transaction go through by anybody, really. I saw a minor league free agent signing earlier this afternoon, but I haven't seen any major signings or anything yet.
No, nothing yet. It's been pretty quiet. I saw someone out there tweet. So if this is your tweet, I apologize for not giving you credit, but I did see it. It was pretty funny that everyone's afraid to make the first move because they'll get hit for tampering.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 hours past, so I'm sure there were some handshake deals already in place, sort of,
right,
that are pretty much done. I mean, apparently there's going to be teams who are, everybody's already doing minor league spring training, so there are going to be some major leaguers actually reporting to camps starting tomorrow, which is pretty awesome.
For sure. I mean, it's a full-on scale. It's back. I mean, there's so much to talk about with this. I don't really even know where to begin, but theoretically, technically speaking, right, March 13th is when they report back to spring itself, the camps. And then April 7th is the first day of baseball.
I think it's pretty obvious where we start back to where we began. Did we ever think anything was going to change in the grand scheme of things? And did it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good premise there. It's a lot of the status quo. I do think there were some, we're not going to come out of this thinking that baseball is a completely different landscape, right? But I think there are some things that we're going to discuss here that come out of this deal that are for the better on the player's side, there's going to be some things that are for the better, on the owner's side, obviously. There's going to be some things that are for the better on the fan side too, I think. I mean, just based off of a few things that I've seen. So all in all, I just can't be any more thrilled that like baseball is actually back on. Like I don't know. It's my favorite sport in the world. No one's going to take that away from me. You can tell me as much as you want how bad the Pirates suck. I don't care, right? Like I'm just happy that baseball's back, and this spring we're going to be able to watch Major League Baseball. Like that's what I'm excited about.
E2, Tyler?
You know what's exciting to me is that we actually get to watch baseball on April 7th for opening day, and not like 10 days means a lot in the northeastern states. We might actually see some decent weather.
That's not a bad point at all.
Mm-hmm.
March 31st, April 7th. You might avoid a storm or two.
Now, did we announce when like the World Series will happen? I don't know if that happened or not. I've been, important guy here. They haven't had time.
Yes. So as far as I know, the season isn't changing.
Well,
the six games are just going to be made up either via doubleheaders or
the season will be extended by 3 days, I believe I saw.
Okay. All right. I missed that part.
Well, and by the way,
Way to go, Jim.
we have our fact checker here. So Ethan is in the chat.
That's true.
Right?
Ethan's in the chat.
He's
warmed
warmed
telling
up.
us what's wrong. Yeah.
Let us know, Ethan, if you're wrong. But I do believe, yes, I saw extended by 3 days, which I think all of us just felt for the wild card purposes.
Yeah.
I take that back. Not so much extended,
Well,
but
man,
for the wild card purposes, we always said that have a 3-game series. That way, you can extend the rest of the playoffs. So it's kind of like in that degree. But
To be fair,
Ethan confirms 3 days extended by.
I've always kind of been in the camp of let's just throw another 1 or 2 doubleheaders in there and at the same time. But they kind of ruined that with the elimination of 7-inning doubleheaders. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think that would have been like if we were gonna keep one thing from like the whole COVID season, like the 7-inning doubleheaders. I didn't hate.
Kind of like them.
Yeah. But I'm also fine with 9-inning. But I'm fine with that.
But either way, I'd be okay just adding a doubleheader here and there to shorten the season.
Mm-hmm. I feel like knowing this year was going to be odd to keep it, like it might not be a part of the CBA. We're going back to 9. Like for this year, since we're already in this situation, keeping 7 and then afterwards maybe going to 9 if they wanted to do that. Like that made more sense than knowing you're going to have a lot of doubleheaders and making all of them 9 this year. But like I guess I'm okay with it. It's not the end of the world. It's not like the guy on second base. That's gone, by the way. No more man on second to start off extra innings. Completely gone. Thank the Lord. But like
we're not playing Little League Baseball anymore.
Right. But like had this stayed at least for this one season, knowing that there's going to be some odd baseball, I'd have been cool with that. I mean, if it would have kept, I'm with you guys too. Like if you just had doubleheaders and they end up being 7 innings every single time, I think we all could definitely get used to that.
Yeah, you're not really changing the game as much as you are just we're done with 9 innings. All right, let's just throw a dude on second base, call it a day, and then no manager knows how to actually manage.
Do you think Madison Bumgarner had a big play into making sure the doubleheaders are 9 innings again?
I mean, that's possible because he lost his hitting position. He had to make a concession.
So the concession was, since you can't hit anymore, we're going to go back to 9-inning doubleheaders.
Yep.
We'll make sure your no hitter counts.
Your no hitter.
But no, I couldn't be happier, you guys. Like I know that I've been completely down on the Pirates, and I still am, but I'm just happy there's going to be baseball.
I'm pretty depressed that we have to go back to talking about how terrible this team is.
We don't have to do that tonight. We don't have to talk about the Pirates tonight.
Yeah, but I don't live in the...
Maybe a little bit. Maybe just a little.
I don't enjoy things, Jim.
We know you don't enjoy things. That's just you. You don't, and that's great. That's fantastic. I love your misery. It makes me go a little bit, you know? But like to Jim's point, we had how many months where we just had nothing to talk about? I mean, I'm in misery. Like, thank God there's other stuff that like I've been into and doing things to keep me occupied as North Shore 9 is expanding. By the way, this Saturday, here's your plug, Tyler.
The one positive of this entire thing, as my friend Cody says, is we got baseball to gamble on. And that's all we need in this world.
I am getting pretty excited for like daily fantasy baseball to be back.
Yeah. I mean, that was a half-ass plug, Tyler. So I'll finish it. So yeah, NS9 Bets debuts this Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to tell them why you're talking about that at all?
Well, Saturday, as we have slightly thrown together with our 2 months notice, 3 months notice that we were going to do this. And then we decided, like, I don't know, what day is it? Thursday, 2 days before. Oh yeah, we should probably put together like our show. Welcome to Tyler's World. Cody, I'm sorry, good luck. We will be debuting on Saturday at 2:00, giving you our best, absolutely worst bets. Just go ahead and fade us ahead of time. And we will also be doing a March Madness bracket where you can just take our money. Every week, Saturday, we don't know what time yet. Probably 2:00. It's going to change depending on the sports schedule. We'll just be available for you so that you can tune in and throw us your bets, and we'll throw you yours. We'll have some listener parlays, the whole nine. And we're just going to hang out, lose money together. That's what we do. This is what we do around here. We lose money together.
But it's all about the friends you made on the way, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Cody's going to jump in some holes with me. I'll jump in some holes with him. It's the whole thing.
Yes. So there's that aspect of it. So that's what brings you a little bit of joy. What brings me joy is, again, back to like what Jim was saying. I mean, there's just been no baseball. I'm craving baseball. I need some baseball. It's finally back. Like we
Watch
have a
college
show.
baseball, you idiot.
No one wants to listen and talk about college baseball.
The Pirates suck. They're going to have to draft some college baseball.
It's still
players.
Major League Baseball. Jim, tell us the whole reason.
It sucks
Tell
too.
It's not comparable. Like I love college baseball probably as much as anyone listening to this, except maybe Renee. I think he listens to a lot, but as far as it's like you can't compare the two. Like college baseball. Did you see like what Ole Miss did yesterday? Like the dude was on first, he stole second, and then nobody was covering third, and then nobody was covering home.
Did you watch Pirates last year?
I was going to say we also saw that.
But like that sort of thing, like it happens a lot in college baseball. Like defense is terrible. Like if you watch an entire college baseball game the entire way through, first off, they take about 4 hours. They take 4 hours because the defense is awful. The pitchers can't throw strikes. And there's more bunting than any. I don't want to see that much bunting in a baseball game. Like I said, I love it, but it's not comparable to Major League Baseball. Same thing with minor league baseball. Again, I love going to a minor league baseball game, like on a weeknight, having a couple like $2 beers. It's a great experience, but it's called minor league baseball for a reason. It's not as good as Major League Baseball. Like it is the minor version of it. It's the players are not as good. So like I said, that's why we're excited.
Exactly. So like for all those are like, well, there's a minor league baseball, that's the better thing, or independent, that's better. They care or whatever. Like there's a reason that it's Major League Baseball. There's a reason that they're talking and fighting over millions. There's millionaires and billionaires, not people that are fighting for McDonald's meals, right? And then the minor league owners. I mean, this is Major League Baseball. The sport is way better. I love minor league baseball too because of the experience and the cheap beers. But I'm not really going there to like watch the game in the same manner. I'll probably go there to watch a few prospects. These are the next major leaguers that I get to see.
Zardo, I'll just put it this way. We're looking at the grand scheme of things here. Are you going to a Pirates game to watch the team? Because they suck.
So what's odd and funny, in today's world, not so much. But a lot of times I'm going back. We might have a live podcast. I'm with people, talking, hanging out, getting drunk. But like if I still lived in Pittsburgh game and I'm going to Pirates games, yes. I mean, I was watching way back in the day when I would go.
Yeah, but
I wish I could attend more Pirates games. That way, when I'm there, I can actually watch them more.
No, they suck.
I watch Pirates more in Miami than I do anywhere else.
So again, like going back to we're now shifting focus back to the Pirates, who are an awful baseball team.
Which actually is great because we can finally talk about the Pirates again.
The Pirates are a lot closer to a minor league team than most major league teams are. So yeah, the experience going to a Pirates game at PNC Park is different than the experience that you get going to Fenway, right? It's a totally different experience. When you go to Fenway, you go there to watch baseball. When you go to PNC Park, you might be there to watch baseball, but you also might just be there to have a good time on a summer afternoon or evening. Like it's a great spot to do that. And you know, kudos to the Pirates for making PNC Park and structuring it the way it was. Whoever the architect was, they made it so that it can be enjoyed by people not necessarily there to watch baseball.
But
for that, I am thankful that there is baseball.
And the frustrating part is that PNC is one of the best places to watch a competitive baseball team. That's what's frustrating.
It is.
So let's get there, Ben. And again, you know, like instead of talking for 3 months about the CBA, at least we can talk for 3 months about how the Pirates stink, how Ben Cherington might have screwed this one up, or he got a win here. Like we can actually dissect and talk about actual things and not this BS that was the CBA. That's gone. That's in the past. After tonight, I don't ever want to talk about it until 4.5 years from now when I'll have to talk about it again. It's done. So let's get everything we need to get out tonight. Let's talk about the current CBA that is agreed upon and move F forward and talk about your terrible Pittsburgh Pirates that I can't wait to talk about.
You know what's really frustrating to me? The Pirates are so far ahead of the curve of having absolutely horrendous first basemen that would have been terrific DHs. And now we finally get one. And we don't have a first baseman. Go back to Pedro.
Yeah. But we still would have needed a first baseman then too. So we would have had DH and still needed a first baseman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I would have been happy to watch Pedro hit bombs for 9 innings rather than Clint Hurdle pull him in the 5th.
I mean, yeah, that's cool. But then who was also playing first? I mean,
yeah, we'll figure that out later.
So Sean Rod was still in the game playing first.
We don't need to. No, that's
but I'd rather have Sean Rod in the lineup than the pitcher.
Well, yeah, but then
would you?
The other team's also going to have. Well, I don't know. Madison Bumgarner's probably in the lineup too.
Will Crow.
So
we have them both.
But that is something. I mean, we can actually kind of talk about roster construction a little bit here tonight. And that is something where now there is a DH.
Yoshi becomes far more valuable.
Yoshi probably takes over that DH spot for the most part, especially against right-handed hitters. But now, who's your first baseman? Is it Michael Chavis? Is Michael Chavis your everyday first baseman? Or do you still have to go out there and get somebody?
I mean, Mason Martin actually gets a shot now, probably. Because we can take it a step further, though, where the Rule 5 is not happening.
We know
maybe Mason Martin at the end of the year, but not like opening day. Like, what's that lineup going to look like? Is Michael Chavis your opening day first baseman?
I don't think. So you want my thought on this? In the perfect world, what you're saying, Jim, is absolutely correct. Yoshi's your DH. In the 2022 Pittsburgh Pirates world, I believe Yoshi's your first baseman. I mean, Charrington has basically come out and had said that they don't intend on like having a DH. They intend on using anybody and everyone in that role. To me, that tells me Yoshi's my first baseman, and they're going to rotate and whatever, find a way to have, like you're talking about days off, like the DH allows people have days off, right? So like, I just feel like the DH is going to be that and some bench bats. Yoshi's your first baseman in my eyes.
Yeah, that sounds great until you actually go into the season and you find out all your bench bats are absolutely dog shit.
I'm not denying that. That's facts. That's why your 2022 Pirates are bad, and we're talking about them as they're bad. I mean, do you foresee some signing? I guess if that happens, I mean, we can't totally knock that and push it off the table. That could happen, but I don't really foresee it.
I don't either. I mean, there are quite a few people still available. And maybe because the DH is now a thing, you know, you start looking at like these first basemen who are available. I don't know.
Like Colin Moran.
Yeah, but I get your point. Like, so I actually kind of like the idea of like, you know, the DH is you don't have a DH, right? Like unless you have a premier designated hitter in baseball, right? Like a Nelson Cruz who just retired, by the way. But like unless you have like a Nelson Cruz type of player on your team, yeah, use that DH as just kind of like a de facto off day for people. Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense when you have a bunch of guys that can hit. Pirates don't.
That's true too.
They gotta find like 18 spots. They have a bunch of players that suck at the sport of baseball.
Like when you think about it, as far as hitters, so we're hoping Brian Hayes, right? At least average or above average, right? Okay, we talk about the glove. We hope he's at least above average this year. I'm not looking for like his rookie season where he came out just like killing it and dominating. He's going to be like the best player in baseball ever. But hopefully he comes out and has a productive bat. There's with pause.
I can't wait till Kevin Newman's hitting DH.
Brian Reynolds on the team. Mm-hmm. So there's two players. Maybe Yoshi pans out and like continues that, right? O'Neal Cruz is going to be here. Probably not at the beginning of the season, but at some point. So they're like, there's Cruz, hopefully, again, right? After that, what is there? So like to Tyler's point, we got to find like 4 regular day at bats, let alone a DH.
Mm. Ben Gamel, you didn't say him, did you?
I mean,
didn't. Ben Gamel's probably the 4th best player on this team.
God, this team sucks.
I mean, yes.
I mean, he is. He's the 4th best position player on the roster right now.
I truthfully cannot wait until Kevin Newman's at DH one game.
It's going to happen too. Yeah.
As long as he gets that swinging button triple against the Mets, I'm good.
What if Newman's your opening day designated hitter?
Oh, man.
God.
I mean, I want to.
What's going to happen?
No,
but I mean, you're right. You have to actually think now. Do they start with, because there's another new twist in the CBA? Do you start with O'Neal Cruz on opening day? Like, do you roll with him? Because part of this new agreement is if a player finishes in the top 3 in the Rookie of the Year voting, they're going to get a full year of service time anyways, or top 2. They're top 2 in Rookie of the Year voting.
Right.
They're going to get a full year of service time. And then also, I mean, I don't know how they're going to figure this out. I haven't seen the details of it, but it's saying that if you have a top prospect on your opening day roster, you will be eligible to receive draft picks if that player finishes in the top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting or MVP or Cy Young. So does that incentivize the Pirates to say, you know what, this is worth a shot. Let's go ahead and have him on that opening day lineup, because we actually think he's going to be pretty good. If we call him up later, he's going to be a top 2 rookie of the year vote getter anyways. And if he is that good, we get rewarded with draft picks. This is going to be the really interesting curve, I think, in this is like, what do they do with that specific role? And how does it apply? Like, what's the application of that? Is it like a 3rd round pick, like a pick at the end of the 2nd round? Or is it like, I mean, do you get like a competitive balance type pick where you're picking 31st, 32nd overall?
Before we get into that role, I haven't read into it, but any role that gives any team any incentive based upon a baseball writer's opinion should be abolished immediately. That's just stupid.
To a degree, we talked about this. It wasn't so much that, it was their uses of top prospects, right? Like which they're going to use as MLB trade, or not trade, MLB Fangraphs, whatever it was going to be like for the top prospects.
Or something, yeah.
So like with this, yes, it's another nuance that we're just taking writers and their votes. So like I get that. And I guess to a degree, like it's not going to be perfect. Like, well, how are you going to weigh it? Are you going to say the top 3 rookies as far as WAR, and then which WAR? And WAR is subjective and whatnot. So like it's not going to be perfect. But what I will say is the idea, and as much as it's not perfect, it's solid enough. I love this. I love it. And it does add that nuance, like Jim's saying. Do you just say, well, the heck with it? Because the other thing about this whole thing, right? Let's tie that in with the fact of what the draft has turned into. So the top 6 picks is a draft lottery. The Pirates aren't going in saying, let's tank and get the number 1 overall pick and just get the number 1 overall pick. Like there's a lottery. They might end up with the 6th pick. So if that's not guaranteed, and if they truly feel that Ono Cruz is this top talent, then if I play him, I'm not guaranteed a top 6, right? Somewhere in there, and I get another draft pick, like maybe that is incentive enough for him to be there on opening day.
I don't want anything where a guy like Bob Nightingale can decide whether a player gets an extra year of control.
I mean, screw Bob Nightingale. How about Ron Cook?
Just anybody like that. I don't want any of them having any say on whether a player gets an extra year of control of my team. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I think my thing is like it's still better than the current system.
Yeah,
you know. So like I like that they are thinking about ways. Like this is a way to encourage. It's not a way to maybe encourage teams, but it's a way to make teams think twice about, okay, what's going to be better for me? Is it going to be better for me to hold this guy down, or is it going to be better for me to call this guy up because he is ready and he is good? And yeah, I may not get that extra year of arbitration that I want, but I might get another pick instead. So I think it just adds a whole other nuance to calling players up when they're ready. And like the top prospect list, I'm not really too concerned about that because like this only affects top tier talent. Like no one's holding down the number 200 prospect in baseball because of Super 2, you know, right? Like the people who get held back and the people who suffer from service time manipulation are the top prospects. So if you're a top 20 prospect, you're going to be in a top, like if they just say anybody on the top 100 list, right? Like that covers everybody. Like everybody who's a top prospect is on that list. There's nobody who is any good who's close to the majors who isn't on that list. So I'm cool with the verbiage, the rookie of the year voting. Like I think that's the best way to do it. Like I mean, if you're gonna, because yeah, WAR. How are you gonna say, oh, it's gonna F WAR, it's gonna be R WAR? It's like what are you gonna do? It's you need to average everything out. And then pitchers or something, or if you're a catcher, right? If you're a catcher, you just get handed WAR, right, Tyler? So
Exactly.
I like the idea. I like the idea of like, hey, the top 2 rookies who qualify for this end of year award, part of your award is you get this extra service time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with that. Like it's like you get a trophy and then you also get this service time. Like I'm cool with that.
Maybe I'm cynical, but I just feel like it's a slippery slope that leads to big market teams colluding and just, hey, you need a source? Here you go. Move for my guy.
No, I get that. I do. And we joked about that before. I think it was Zimborski about, like whatever, like being in pockets, whatever. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. Ultimately, of course, it can. It can, but I don't think it's going to. But also with that said, too, if we're talking about like having these things tied to something else, like writers or whatever, I actually think that this is more legit than deciphering whose top 100 we're going to go off of or whatever. Because the thing, too, is what these writers are voting on, albeit a lot of them get stuff wrong. We argue about the Hall of Fame all the time. We argue about whatever. But like what they're doing is voting on actual production where the like top 100 lists are more projecting what these players are going to be. You know what I mean? So it's like they're going and basing this off of actual facts and not what someone thinks this person's going to turn out to because of whatever reason it might be, So like I feel more comfortable with this route than going with the top 100 lists, if that makes sense. None of it's going to be perfect, but baseball is not perfect by any means as it is either. Like with the system that they have, how do you really deter service time manipulation? And I think this is a good way of doing it. And it does incentivize teams. Like you said, like if O'Neal Cruz is going to be a legit stud, then why not have him for a month? If he's going to end up being the rookie of the year anyways, and you just got to lose out, and you could have had him for that month the whole time. Nothing would have changed. So the only thing I think this can do, and this I think will be hard, I think this could be an easy case of you're definitely manipulating, but do teams try to calculate like, okay, well, if we call him up this time in August, he's not going to get his at-bats to be rookie of the year. So like they're going to hold people even longer now. That's, again, I'm not saying, I know Jim's like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that would be the ultimate way of deterring it. So like they would look at O'Neal Cruz and say, well, this guy still can't figure out shortstop. We got to keep him down here. It's August 10th. He's not going to get it. He's not getting them at bats. Let's come up now.
I think it's just stupid to leave anything up into the hands of the writers because we've seen through this lockout how absolutely moronic they can be. And we see it quite a bit in the city of Pittsburgh. We're going to leave it up to these guys. They're stupid.
This isn't anything new though. Like player contracts are tied to these things. Like there's incentives in contracts where it's like if you finish in the top 5 in MVP, you get these bonuses. If you do
that's
this,
incentives. That's not. Do you get
these
to
are
stay
that's what these
year?
are. These are incentives. These are incentives.
Not really.
Yeah, they are.
No, we're discussing whether you get an extra year of control.
No, you're incentivizing the winners of these awards with extra service time.
But
that's less service time.
But those incentives come down to player making money. These incentives come down to a team getting to keep you.
No. These incentives are for there's nothing that has to do with the team here.
It does when you get an extra year of control.
Or you what are you saying?
If you get an extra year of control.
That it's not an extra year. It's the same as it would be anyways. The only thing we're doing is
including the dumbass writers.
No, the only thing we're doing is we're giving service time to 2 extra people. Nothing's changing for that. The person who finishes 3rd in rookie of the year voting is the exact same thing now as it would have been last year. The only thing we're changing now, there we go. That's the incentive. So for the top 2, the players get incentivized with a full year of service time. They get to be a free agent earlier. That's a player incentive.
Well, then maybe I misunderstood what we were talking about, and I thought that we were saying they get an extra year of control, like a Super 2 type deal.
No. The players get rewarded with a full year of service time.
That makes more sense. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah. So like, for the players who are finishing the top 2, like this is a great thing. They're getting free service time.
Yep.
I thought we were saying that they would be a Super 2 player essentially. where you
Okay.
get an extra year of arbitration.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like I said, I did not get to read through anything. That's why I texted earlier. Someone give me the rundown. Nobody did. Whole thing.
Yeah.
So-
No. So I mean, if anybody else was like there was some miscommunication there. Yeah. Like this is an added thing. Like they're not taking anything away from anybody. If you finish in the top 2 in Rookie of the Year voting per league, so 4 players total, no matter what, if they were called up opening day or they were called up June 1st, that player is going to get an entire year of service time.
I'm on the other side now where teams are going to hold them down.
See, I don't think it can.
Nope.
The possibility
I'm on your side now.
is there to hold them there longer.
You can't switch sides. I'm on your side.
But it's like,
but you know what? Even if that's the case, there's still 2 players who are getting a full year who normally.
Yeah, but that's 2. Who cares?
Now
we're out.
I'm just saying, it's going to be a lot
down.
harder to try to tell people how Wander Franco is in the minors until August going forward than it is why he was there till June.
All right, then if I'm the Pirates, if I'm Bob Nutting, if there's some Cardinals rookie that pops up, I am paying every writer a lot of money to vote him top 2.
I think that's where the difference is that Bob Nutting isn't going to pay anybody anything.
I'm saying if I am Bob Nutting,
but here's the thing:
I am handing a blank check,
and this is great because we have the owners, the versus MLB PA, right, and the writers. You're talking about the writers, like Bob Nutting's going to pay them. I mean, if we're already in this climate that people are like, who's to blame? So let me add this wrinkle in: is it Bob Nutting you're worried about, or is it that person's agent you're worried about? That agent's saying, "Hey, writer in St. Louis, why don't you go ahead and vote for my player?" I'm just saying. A lot of people out there hate the agents now too, so I'm just going to add them into this little wrinkle here.
I think what you're going to find though is like writers still. I'm not saying that writers in general are like good people, but like they think of themselves as good people. But right, so you're gonna have this journalistic integrity type of thing that is, maybe a false thing, but you're gonna have these people where if like someone comes up to them and says, "Hey, you should vote so and so. If you do, I'll give you this." You're gonna have a writer at some point write that. Like they're going to literally write, "Hey, this is what so and so said to me." Like. A lot of people vote in these awards. Like you would have to skew the minds of so many different people to manipulate it that like at some point, if you did it, like somebody's going to be like, no. And actually here, I'm going to say what you just said.
Jim, their agents.
You would be
That's what they
paying
do for a
for
living.
3 years of that player's service time to like pay off enough votes. Yeah. It's just not going to be worth it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to what Richard said, like it ain't going to happen. But if you want to talk about, the possibility of it happening, don't just worry about the owners. I mean, think about the agent. Anyways, let's move on because this is getting dumb now. We're just talking about stupid stuff. Baseball's back. We got facts to talk about.
Baseball's back.
Why don't we talk about the salary cap that was proposed and never happened?
You mean the thing
Can
that
I just say that
nobody was arguing about?
I just want to say one thing. Like, I'm really happy the CBA's done because then we can. Can we stop spending so much time talking about things that are non-existent and make-believe that weren't ever going to happen anyways, because neither side wants it to happen. Neither side has it on the table. So like these make-believe things that people are just like making up and putting out there and saying, this is going to suck until we get it, that it literally can't even happen. Like, why even waste our time talking about it? Like, why are we spending so much time discussing something that's not going to happen?
You mean you don't want to talk about the potential salary cap that was never on the table?
Eden says, tag me in now. I wasn't on
the
Spaces
talk about
last week, and I really had so much I wanted to say. And I'm not going to hold this show down to like spew it all out there too, right? And I've said what I can say on Twitter. It's a limited amount of text you can actually say. But like, I'm just with you too. You and I can talk all day long about whether a cap is beneficial or not for the league, players, owners, whoever it may be. We can discuss and debate all we want. As a fan, I could say I want a salary cap in this league because ultimately it's going to make the league good. You're going to have, it's going to be more competitive. Everyone's on the level playing field, and it's going to help out the players. They're going to get 50%. It's all out there. It's lined out. Boom. This is why a cap's good. You and I can argue that all day. Here's the problem. I'm not at the table. MLB's at the table. MLBPA's at the table. Neither of them are arguing and wanting a salary cap. So why am I going to invest so much time talking about it? Next point. Forget even that point. What is this argument of, well, let's just cancel the year until one comes back? Why would them two not come in together, create a cap? That's not what holding this thing up. No one's saying like we want a cap, and that's why they're coming together. So why would the fact that there is no baseball then create a cap? All the people that's going out there saying how, fine, I'm good with it. Just cancel the season. Don't let baseball play until there's a cap. That's not what's going to come out of it. No one's going to say, fine, we won. We're going to give you a cap. It's just until they finally meet at some point, which would probably be that the players caved and the owners got whatever they wanted, which again was no cap. Because not one damn owner wants to open their effing books and show you what they're freaking printing money with. No one wants to open their books. Don't tell me the owners want a cap. That's why they're at the table. That's why they, at the beginning, were so willing to say, we'll give you $100 million floor right off the bat. Their first negotiation tactic was, we'll give you $100 million floor. And as soon as the players said no, they're like, okay, good, great. We're nowhere near a cap, thank God. They don't want a cap. All right. That's my, I feel like 3-hour long convo I could have in 3 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm real glad I spent 2.5 hours on that.
On that
Spaces last week. But I mean, we're all in the same boat. Like, we all know that a cap would probably help the Pirates and it would probably make them more competitive. It was never on the table. We're all of a rational mindset of knowing if it's not on the table, I'm not going to tweet about it every day until this negotiation's over. And I'm not going to tweet about it after and complain about it and say that nobody cares about baseball in Pittsburgh, blah, 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 and nothing helped baseball in Pittsburgh. Even though at this point, I think we're all on the same page. If the players won, that's good with me. Like, they deserve more money. That was number 2 on the list of things that needed done.
And they did a good enough way of getting money infused in there differently. And again, more into I want to say younger players, but Casey Sadler's a good example. He's still going through arbitration. Yeah. He's 97 years old right now. But for the players that have had arbitration, all that, they're finding ways to get money with this terrible economic structure, right? The players that are really bringing to the faces of baseball, they're the ones that are productive. They're getting pennies on the dollar. So even though it was just $50 million, which I guess we can talk about that, right? The $50 million bonus pool that's out there, which is still what, 1.6 million per team if you add it out, it's nothing. it's literally nothing that they're arguing over.
Ninth rounder.
Yeah. It's getting some money back into their pockets. So cool.
I think that's the important thing is you have the minimum salary being raised, right? So it's the largest, I'm pretty sure it's the largest single season increase in
Jim, what did they get raised by?
200,000.
Woo!
Almost.
That's a big. But if you're 24 years old,
it'll be 200,000.
I know,
but you're 24 and you're making 500,000. 700,000 is a big difference between it's a $200,000 difference. And then on top of that, like I said, if you are really good and you're not arbitration eligible, you're going to be able to get more from this bonus pool. So I think the players did a really good job of getting more money in the younger players, or at least the less service time players' pockets, because before it, like they got a pay increase, and that's what probably the main thing out of all of this was like, let's shift some of this money to these younger players, because teams are taking advantage of the fact that they only have to pay them $500,000, right? So they got a raise. There's now extra money available to the top performers there, which I like. Like, I'm sure Brian Reynolds would have loved to have an extra $1 million last year, right? So like that's an incentive for someone like Brian Reynolds. Like, that's a cool thing that came from this CBA is Brian Reynolds is going to be, or Brian Reynolds type players are going to make more money than they did before.
Yeah, it's a great thing. But the issue that we run into is that certain people like to think that Brian Reynolds making an extra, for example, $1 million is not important. It's more about being able to field a competitive baseball team, which was never on the table, because that's just up to our owner.
Yes. So, I mean, they try to combat it with like the anti-tanking. I mean, sure, whatevs. You know, the 6-team lottery. I mean, it helps, I guess, right? As we're talking about, it's like you're not going to you can't guarantee yourself the number one top pick. So maybe tanking isn't as prevalent, or at least as hard. But I don't think they really nailed down tanking. Like, you'll still see it. I don't think this really prevents any team from like going 3-4 years on like just tanking.
Well, what it does do is, I think it does actually like the prolonged tanking, because you can't be in the lottery more than 2 years now. So like once you're in the lottery for 2
did that hold up then too?
Yeah.
Did they do it by big market? Did they do it by large market, small market too?
As far as I know, that was something that was kind of agreed on. So
okay,
a team like the Pirates cannot draft in the top 6
Ethan,
more than 2 years in a row. I mean, I'll have to look and kind of see how they define that, right? Because you know the way they do it now is with the competitive balance picks. It has to do with revenue and market size. So I don't know how they're going to dissect small market, large market type deal. But I mean, if that's something like, because that was one of my 8 points. If you remember, you know, you couldn't draft high
how could we forget?
Years in a row. So,
I think you had it down to 3.
I think I might have. But so this is something where, you can't suck 3 years in a row and be rewarded for it. Okay. I like that. If that's like, I mean, I like that a lot.
Ethan confirms it is small market 2, large market 1.
Yeah.
2 for small markets, 1 for large.
So if you're the Cubs or the Astros, you can't tank at all. You can do it 1 year, but then after that, boom, you're kicked back to number 10.
Yeah.
I mean, there is absolutely no excuse for the Pirates to end up with what are we looking at payroll wise this year? They're at what, 34 this year? They'll end up at 45, 50.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's absolutely embarrassing that they are $50 million below what they were at 8 years ago.
And revenues are at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I want to take back about my statement about the anti-tanking, because I saw that like yesterday in the proposal about the large and small market, but when it got agreed upon today with like the lottery and everything, I didn't see it there, so I didn't know that was still part of it. So now I do agree that will help out with the tanking, because you're right. If I'm going to get maybe, right? I mean, I could get number 6 2 years in a row, and then I'm completely out of it. So that does help. So like the competitive part of the game, there definitely has been some things in that helps. I would have much rather have seen a much larger pool, because I think that would have helped. Because if you have a team like the Pirates that relies on these younger players, you're going to have more exposure of that pool. Like you're going to be the one taking advantage of that. You're probably going to have more of those, younger players. So you're putting, albeit just a few millions, right? But you're investing into those. So some money's coming out. I think there was the sticks removed a little bit to make it more competitive in that aspect, but baseball is baseball. And I think that's what we're coming to. Like this is baseball. We're accustomed to baseball. We're accepting this is the economic structure of it. So as to Tyler's point, the players do need to get paid more, and they got a bit more. As much as they probably should have, probably not. Again, we just witnessed $400 million more in TV revenue this year. $400 million. And they're talking about a $50 million pool. Okay.
Did they announce when the whole tanking lottery thing starts? Is it effective now? Like, do the Pirates have to be above 6 now?
That's a good question. I don't know. My guess is that it would be the way that it was worded was you can't be in the lottery 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess would be, since the lottery would start next year, so it would be this year would be year 1, the year after.
Oh, sweet. So we got 2 more years of it. Awesome.
Right. Yeah. So I'm guessing everybody starts at 0 would be my guess. Yeah.
That would be my guess as well. But awesome.
More
Love
reason
it.
to trade Brian Reynolds, right? I'm just saying I'm more nervous than ever, and I don't know why, but just after Craig Mish from Miami, listen to that podcast, things he had to say. I'm nervous, guys.
Yeah. Real excited.
I just don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a team still that can put an offer together that would be worth it. Like, I know, I mean, the Marlins, I guess if the Marlins were to have done it, it would have been just a monster deal. And I just don't, there are not a lot of teams that like to package a lot of really good prospects together. Like, I mean, people talk about the Mariners, and then they're like, if you're the Mariners and you know, they would have to include Julio Rodriguez, but like, if you're the Mariners and you want Brian Reynolds, just call up Julio Rodriguez. Right. Why are you trading Julio Rodriguez? Right.
And he's going to be the rookie of the year anyway, so he's there day 1.
Right. So I don't know. I feel like Reynolds is a Pirate this year. And I do think they actually make a pretty decent proposal to try to extend him. Like, I think they have to at least try.
Yeah. I mean,
the interesting part about the lottery is going to be the trade deadline and teams that are going on, say, their third year of being in the bottom 6, and are they going to hang on to their guys to not be in the bottom 6?
I don't know, because like picking 7th would be better than picking 10th.
Yeah. Do I hang on to this guy so that I can keep my top pick? Or do I just say, screw it, we're going to take the mediocre prospect that the Pirates are going to get because all they do is trade for 40-man guys?
Well, then you call up your prospect that you've been hoarding down there. So he doesn't get
Ben Sherrington's out there playing 3D chess, just
that's
hanging on to every 40-man guy.
That's when O'Neal Cruz gets called up in 2025.
Yeah.
And I guess just real quick, I know I've been seeing these in your comments, guys. But Dave White does say, so what do the Marlins have for Reynolds? I mean, the Marlins do have a package. I mean, they have a plethora of young pitchers. Mm-hmm. I can see a package there. I still am not sure if it's like the one, but if you want to look at this organization, I think that we all can agree the team definitely has bats that are coming, and probably the lack is pitching. So you could probably get that from the Marlins. Like, you can dangle Brian Reynolds to get probably good young quality pitching. I just don't know if it's the level that you really want for Brian Reynolds, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if the Marlins were like, hey, we'll give you Max Meyer and Edward Cabrera, and then and Jose Salas, I mean, you'd have to think about it.
Give me
right?
Watson.
I don't think Watson's on the table, but
too bad.
But if we
that's
were
what we're talking about. If you're trading Reynolds, that's what you need.
That's true. But I mean, a Meyer Cabrera Salas deal.
That's a solid deal.
Those are a lot of really good players, but again, I think you lock up Reynolds if you can. Like those types of players don't just come around all the time.
I'm going full blown Jim here, and just like I'm signing Reynolds with a lifetime contract like he's Scotch.
There you go.
I mean, clearly it wasn't lifetime, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling the devil's advocate that Jim always like to throw at us. They should never traded him.
Jim's lifetime contract. I got you.
Yes.
No, they should have never traded Kutch because he made fans happy.
So kind of what you're getting into, right? With the draft, this isn't so much the draft pick part, but another thing that has happened is the 12 playoff teams. With that will be the wild card. So the wild card's 3 games. Like we don't have to worry about the 1 game playing and all that stuff. Like it's 3 game wild cards now. It's going to be 12 teams. So it's not 14, thank God, but it is 12 teams. How do we feel about that? I'm not starting with you, Tyler, because we know how you feel about that. It would be 28 teams if you had it your way.
You ain't lying.
I mean, I think in order to get some of these things that the players got, like it was something they had to do. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather have 12 than 14. So like, I'll take that any day. But I think ultimately just what this means is we're probably heading down a road where like we're seeing how it's playing out, right? It's going to eventually get to 14.
Yep.
Which I'm not a huge fan of. I understand the side of the story where it's like Tyler's side, where he's like, hey, I want to be able to see meaningful baseball late in the year. I completely understand that stance, and I do too. Like, don't get me wrong, it's going to be more fun watching competitive, not necessarily competitive, but it's going to be more fun watching games that matter in September than watching games that don't matter. I understand that. But I'm also not like a huge fan of taking this 162 game season and diminishing its value and rewarding mediocrity. Like, I think that was one thing that that baseball kind of stood out among other sports is if you want to get to the playoffs, you've got to be good. You've got to be good for a long time. Like, you can't just like put together a few game stretch. Like you've got to prove it over the course of a really long, grueling season. And now we're inching closer and closer to the point where you don't really have to be good. You just have to be okay. And then you get into this postseason where baseball, more than any other sport, just anything could happen, in a short series, like literally anything. In the NBA, you don't see 1 seeds lose to 8 seeds. You don't see 2 seeds lose to 7 seeds. That doesn't happen in the NBA. In the NFL, you see it every once in a while, but for the most part, like the dominant teams advance, right? In baseball, like the worst teams in baseball win series all the time, like, unless you're the Pirates from last year. Right?
I was just going to say, not all the time.
But like every other team wins series from every once in a while. So it's just I think it's just rewarding mediocrity, and we're just getting closer and closer to that point where it's going to diminish the value of the full season and the accomplishment that it is to come out of that season with a good team. I see it the other way. I see it the other way too.
If I look at it as an objective baseball fan, I do think that 12 teams is probably the perfect amount. I think the old way of 4 teams was far too few. 5 teams with the 1 game wild card was just dumb. I think 12 teams is fine, especially if we're looking at a league that has flirted with expanding for a while. So if they go to a 32 team league at some point, which I think we might see within the next 10 to 15 years, 12 teams is fine. 14 is probably too much, even though it would make me happy as a Pirates fan. But 12 teams is fine. It's more about the 3-game wild card because the 1-game wild card, loved it at first, absolutely despise it now.
And I think too, in the sense of, I thought 10 was perfect. Like you take away the 1-game wild card. I just felt it's perfect because, to your point, Tyler, like having less than that, you can have really good teams in a division. You know, like I mean, look at the AL East. Like every year, it seems like there's 3 good, talented teams, right? It's like New York, Boston, Toronto sneaks in there, Tampa Bay sneaks in there, you know, the Orioles. So I feel like having too little takes away, like you had a really, like your team tried and your team won and you're not even in the playoffs. That sucks. 10 kind of eliminates that. If you had a full 3-game wild card, you know, that would have made it better. I'm okay with 12. I'm comfortable. It is what it is. Back to like what Jim was kind of saying, like it was inevitable for the players to get anything out of this. They were going to have to agree to that. I'm just so happy it was 12 and not 14. Because, right, like going to the 14 part. So, like, here's another comment I've seen and just talk about, you know, as Pirate fans, we should be elated that there's 14 playoff teams. Like this, we should be thankful. This is great as a Pirate fan. There's 14 playoff teams because we were in it. And again, like to me, that's just such a loser mentality. Like, oh, okay, guys, we'll just allow you in. Oh, thank God, I'm just allowed. Oh, you're just going to let me into the playoffs. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Bob Manfred, for allowing me into these playoffs and not trying. I mean, just such a loser mentality. No, you should try to win. You should try to compete. I shouldn't just be allowed into the playoffs because you allowed me to. Meanwhile, we're still talking about the bad Pirates because they're still terrible. But this terrible team's going to get into the playoffs because they're just afforded that opportunity to not try. So, like, and I know that's a little bit too extreme because they have 14 teams. Like, no one's going to be terrible. But it's just like you're going to have teams that just aren't good. And they're in there. And it's like, why do I, oh my God, thank you so much. There's 14 teams now and I can get into the playoffs. Like, screw you. Try. You shouldn't just be allowed in here. I mean, everyone talk about, this new generation handing out, trophies. That's what we're freaking doing here. And it wasn't that generation that was doing it. It was yours. So I'll have a generation war on this show right now. Not to go there.
I know.
But like that's what I'm getting at. Like it gets watered down, and that's not something that should be rewarded, especially, right, to Jim's point, in this type of a setup. It's 162 games. Why play that?
To equate it to like myself as a Steelers fan, I had a lot of friends saying I don't want to see the Steelers in the playoffs this year because we all knew they were awful. That last week of the year, I'm rooting the Jags on because I want one more week of football. I know they're going to get killed by the Chiefs. I know it, but there's still that chance. If I'm a Pirates fan, just give me that chance. I want to be able to watch a meaningful baseball game.
I get it. I completely get that because, like you mentioned, like that last Sunday of the year when the Jaguars were killing the Colts, the Steelers just like somehow eked out a win that they should have won by a lot, but they eked it out. And then you get into that whole tie situation. It was like some of the most exciting football I've ever watched that day. So no, I get that point, and I understand that it adds to the excitement. But then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, do we really deserve this though?
Then we got to that Sunday, and it was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Let me bring up another point too.
Yeah.
So like the difference of football and baseball, like we're getting at. So, okay, take a step back before I say it. There's now 17 games in the NFL because again, it's ultimate money owners. Mm-hmm. So there's now 17 games. So when did Juju go down? Was that the second game?
It was early.
I think it was like week 3, I think.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
So week 3 or 4. So
it was the Broncos game.
So basically Juju missed what? 13 games, we'll say.
Yeah.
So, and you can say what you want about Juju, but like, so he's out 13 games, the line's shaky. It's new. It's whatever, and like they got to work together. Like with football, there's just a very limited amount of games. And one game is such a big difference, right? There's only 17 games. Mm-hmm. Juju was out 13 of them. So, like, what if Brian runs out 13 games in the NFL or in MLB? I mean, that's nothing. It's whatever. He's out 13 games. Like, that's not an excuse. He's out for 13 games. That's a huge difference. Like, you lose your star player for 13 games in the NFL, that could end your season. But like in the MLB, it's nothing. It's nothing. We lose Starling Marte for a month because Eric Gonzalez can't operate shortstop. And that's a big blow for the Pirates in that sense. So like, that's the thing too. It's so different. MLB is this long drawn out process. You're going to know like by 162 games in, whether this team's good or not. In the NFL, you can still have conversations like, yeah, the Steelers shouldn't, but I do think they're good because X, Y, Z. And those are like legit factors. You can't have that in MLB. You can't be like, oh, the team would have been good if Brian Reynolds played, in 140 games instead of.
Yeah, but to flip that, Steelers are a game below 500. In the MLB, if we're 120 games in and the Pirates are hanging around in like, I don't know, like 8th, 9th place, it's like, I still have a reason to pay attention every week.
To pay attention, sure. But is it warranted for a playoff spot? Like you could argue, and I'm not saying this happened, but like you could argue, you know what? If this guy caught that touchdown and that person threw that interception, you're now 2 games over 500, and now you're a playoff team in the NFL. You can't really make those arguments in MLB. You can't just be like, well, you know what? If Brian Hayes would have touched first base, that team would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I can argue like
you can make an MLB.
You know what I can argue? If they would have signed another starter, they would have been in first place in 2015 and not had to deal with Jeff Locke and Charlie Morton all year.
But it wasn't a bad team. That still was still a
yeah,
MLB
but if they would have traded for David Price in 2014, then they would have been in first place.
And all this team you're talking about was no argument. That's a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, 2014 kind of sucked. They got lucky.
2018 wasn't a starter away.
Oh, God, we have to go back to that.
But that's what I'm getting at. Like that's what we're talking about. That's a playoff team now.
That would have been great. If that team was a playoff team, if that team is I'm actually, you know what?
Really kind of curious. Let me look and see where we finished in the National
If that team in 2018 is a playoff team, they might not make that Chris Archer trade because they're just sitting there and they don't need to push.
All right, so in 2018, if we had a 12-team playoff, the Pirates would have missed the playoffs by 5.5 games.
Yeah, but do they make that trade for Chris Archer?
But if they had a 14-team playoff, Pirates are in the playoffs. Pirates would have made the playoffs with a 14-team playoff that year. They were the 7th team in the National League.
Yeah, and maybe things go differently there.
All because
because we're pushing for a playoff
stretch in July.
Yeah,
But
no, I mean that's the interesting way to put it. Like you look at that 2018 team. If it was a 14-team playoff, the Pirates are in.
Do they get blown out in the first round? Maybe, probably.
I mean,
but I have
baseball. I would imagine so, but
we're talking about trying to grow the game, and the sport desperately needs kids to want to watch, and kids in Pittsburgh don't want to watch the Pirates. Like we're all psychopaths and grew up watching an awful team.
I think does more for that than these 14 or 12 playoff games is what they have actually implemented as well. We can talk on that. And I know Jim's all about this, but the fact that every team is going to play each other now. Do people in Pittsburgh want to watch the Pirates? Maybe not. But you know what? Damn it. Now Mike Trout comes into town. Now they get to see Shohei Ohtani. Now Garrett Cole goes back to town with Stanton. Like, you know what I mean? Like that to me, I think does a lot more to the game, and I love this that they're doing it than
You know why I love it?
12 games.
You get to play Cleveland all the time.
That's why you love it?
Yeah. Because there's no reason that the Pirates and the Guardians now shouldn't be a rivalry. Why do we have to go play the Tigers? No, Pittsburgh Cleveland's the rivalry.
I see your point. Yeah, you'll play it every year now.
Yeah. No, I love this piece, and I think we can kind of hark back. I don't want to compare this CBA necessarily to like the hockey lockout, but I think this was one of the big things that came out of the hockey lockout, if I remember correctly, was that everybody plays at least one game in every city now for the NHL. I could be wrong, but like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case now. So like we're talking about growing the game, right? Every single market now gets to see every single team at least once, which is cool because, yeah, you may not, like if you are in Pittsburgh or if you are in Miami or if you're in New York even, right? You may not be seeing, especially like these West Coast guys like Trout and Tatis and Ohtani, like you may not be seeing them all the time. And now you're like guaranteed to have a series against these guys every single year, whether you're in their league or not. I think it's a big win. And because again, how many times do you have to play? Like how many times do the Pirates have to play the Reds? How many times do the Pirates have to play the Brewers? Because it was 19 times, 19 games versus all of your divisional opponents. Cut that back a little bit. Like we don't need that many games against the Reds. Let's play them 15 times instead of 19 times. And so if you do 15 instead of 19 times 4 teams, that's 20 other games that you can use to go play other teams, right? So I like this. I like this rule change. I'm kind of excited about it because, yeah, right now, especially because you're usually going home and away and you're switching divisions. You know, Mike Trout comes to Pittsburgh once every 6 years, the way it is right now. And so now it's going to be he comes to Pittsburgh once every other year, which is 3 times more Mike Trout.
I like it as well, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, this helps the owners more than anyone of the small market teams because once every year, the Pirates have the Yankees rolling into town. And instead of playing some like the not Diamondbacks, like the Twins, they're going to have 35,000 plus because every time the Yankees come into town, they're going to be close to a sellout no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument, like especially small markets, because right when the Yankees have the Pirates come to town, it's not like the Yankees can get filled up. Like that's the one that they're like, okay, I'll skip this game. You know, we'll go out and do something that night. But so yeah, like you can make the argument small market teams will benefit off this, and you're right. But I do think the true side of this is going to help grow the game. And if it helps owners, to me, like, so be it. Whatever. That we can argue about getting more money into the players' pockets from those owners next CBA. But like, this is what's helping grow the game. You know, I joked about it, right, with your face thing today. I mean, we talked about how like no one would even know who Mike Trout is walking down the road. You know, and I'm not saying this will, but for those people who like want a chance to see Mike Trout, you'll get that. I mean, that's the one thing that makes baseball really, really unique and fun too. It is very intimate. You don't really go to an NFL game and really see like the players out there. You know, like you don't really see Ben Roethlisberger. He's still that player way out there in the distance in that uniform that you can't see. You know, when you go to an NBA game, unless you're courtside, like it's still that guy way down there that you kind of see. But like you can stand in the fans, you can sit in the stands, you can stand in the stands. And like, you know, the outfielder's right next to you. Like you see him right there. So, you know, you can, like I say, it seems more intimate. Like you can actually connect with the players a lot better than other sports. So when Mike Trout's coming to town, you know, you can get those seats out there in the outfield and actually see Mike Trout. It's a huge win, I think, for the sport.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't see anything bad coming out of this. I think it's pretty much only good stuff. And then to kind of go along with this whole point is, they picked out a few different areas around the world that they're going to be playing games in, during the CBA. So, they're going, Paris and London, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, right? And you already see like the hype on at least Pirates Twitter, and like that Puerto Rico, like the Pirates have to go to Puerto Rico and play a game in Puerto Rico. Like, what if you like the Pirates go to Puerto Rico on Roberto Clemente Day? They're all wearing 21. Like that's perfect. Like that's a perfect storyline right there, already made. Boom, sell out, national TV. It's already written for you.
Oh yeah, and not even huge on the Pirate sense, but like Puerto Rico. I mean, how they would love that. So like I love that idea too. England doesn't so much. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Paris, I found odd.
I don't think they play baseball there.
I just found like, okay, kudos to that, right? I mean, you want to grow the brand. But like when I saw Paris, I was just kind of like, all right, I guess. I'm not sure what we're going to achieve there.
I'd rather
maybe you take the Nationals, you send them there and like wear Expos jerseys or something.
I'd rather you just go to the Dominican Republic.
Well, like I said, they were on the list too. So I
are they?
Okay. Which is like I've been clamoring for Major League Baseball games in the Dominican Republic for a while now. So I was excited to see that because again, that atmosphere would just be absolutely wild. Like, what if you had the Padres play the Blue Jays in Santo Domingo and you had Vlad, Tatis? Like that place would just be insane.
Just to watch the game. I mean, we saw the World Baseball Classic. It was just fantastic. I mean, just to see that game and their fans and yeah.
Like if Tatis hits a bomb in Santo Domingo, the building might just like explode. Like literally.
And then Vlad hits one the next inning.
Yeah. So no, I looking forward to that stuff. That seemed pretty cool.
Definitely taking the over in that game.
Oh yeah. Balls all around in those games.
You know what? I didn't think about that aspect too. I mean, that's great and all, but like, man, can you imagine being like Tatis or Vlad? Like you're back home playing there. Like how monumental that'd be for them. What a huge game. How amped up.
I mean, just think of Lindor. I think it was the World Baseball Classic, maybe, where he was in Puerto Rico, and how just absolutely insane that was.
That's got to be such a moment. Good stuff again. Good, awesome stuff. This is helping grow the game. The 12 playoffs,
Yeah, I mean, stateside, it helps more.
I'm okay with it. Like I mean, I would have hoped against it, but I will accept it as a thing. That was inevitable.
I'm, as a objective person, 12 teams I think is the max.
Yeah, well, let's keep it that way
for now.
Because in 5 years from now, we'll be talking about cryptocurrency. We'll talk about Web3 and ways that players got to get more money because the owners are making all this. And the owners will say, well, fine, if you want that piece of that pie too, then we need 14 playoffs. Which, again, like this whole thing I'm going to go back to my rant. I'm sorry. It's just, again, like I don't understand how you can look at the players and be like, you guys are dumb. You guys are idiots. You guys are greedy. Like the players want their share and the owner said, fine, you want that? Then give us more revenue. We need we need 14 playoff teams. No, we want the share that you already have. And the owner's saying, fine, we got to break even then. So we need more playoffs. So we're not losing any more money than we already are. And then they go and get $400 million more in TV revenue on top of it. And they're 12 playoff teams. But we'll give you $50 million. How's anyone looking at this whole thing and being like, oh, the owners, they're the right ones in here?
Song for no, that's a song for another time. We'd have to psychoanalyze a bunch of dumb people.
So what else happened? So we know that CBT increased as well. And again, like I look at that too, like, is that really a sticking point? Okay. So again, the owners want to use this as integrity of the game, right? They're worried about this disparity, which again, my biggest thing about this, if you're so worried about raising the CBT because it's going to cause much more disparity in the league, right? And the rich are going to be able to buy their championships and the poors are going to stay poor, then why don't you just counter and say, you know what? We'll meet your $120 million bonus demand. We'll give you all of that to the younger players. Keep the CBT where it is. We'll give you 120, 130, whatever it was originally. That's a proposal. Like, if you really want to call the bluff, offer that. But that's the thing. They didn't, because they'd be afraid that the players would accept that deal, because it's never been about integrity of the game. It's been about making sure the owners' wallets are lined with cash. That's why I didn't budge anywhere. Because this whole CBT thing too, like, so it's not like Bob Knight's gonna be forced to spending more money because the CBT's raised. You know, I mean, 80% of the league is fundamentally the same right now. Nothing's changed. All it's allowed is the Dodgers can now spend more, the Yankees can now spend more, and the Red Sox, when they feel like they want to blow it up and have the Dodgers bail them out, they can spend a little bit more. You know, like, you're talking about 4 or 5 teams right now. That's it.
Yeah, but the Pirates can spend $70 million. We got an extra playoff spot to shoot for.
Exactly.
Which is all I don't care about how much Bob Nutting spends anymore. We are way beyond that point. We all know he's not going to spend anymore. This is his only line of revenue anymore. We're talking about a guy that ski resort has shut down. He owns a newspaper industry, which is dead. This is his one line of revenue. So we are all absolutely insane for thinking he will spend any more money, which technically he can't put his own money into it. Should he spend more of his revenue? Sure. We can talk about that until we're blue in the face. It is what it is. But the amount of people that think that he can just like pull out of pocket and be like, you know what? Here's an extra $20 million out of my pocket. It's not happening. The Pirates are the Pirates. We're going to deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the CBT. It doesn't affect the Pirates really in any way. I guess it's revenue sharing. It's going to affect that a little bit, like for the luxury tax. But we're talking like Donardo, you mentioned, 4 or 5 teams tops are really going to ever be there. But they added another threshold essentially, where if you're $60 million over, tax. You know, then you kind of have like this additional tax, right? But I was at least, I mean, the revenue, the CBT thresholds probably don't go up in increments as they should be based off of the revenue increases, but I'm okay with it as long as, like, I love it that there are some people who maybe aren't necessarily treating these as caps. So as long as there's owners out there still willing to go over this, I'm good with it.
Same. Just something I will keep hammering, and just because we brought up right now too, like, the one aspect of this, if I'm going to look to be a Nutting sympathizer, okay, this one is getting at, this isn't me like trying to support Nutting. It's like, yay Nutting, but like, if I'm going to put the goggles on to be a Nutting sympathizer, I'm Bob Nutting. Why am I always getting called out for basically doing what the Yankees do? Right, like what Steimer does. Like, that's always good. I'm always going to go to that. Like, you want to say like Bob Nutting should be punished, he should spend, and you are correct. I just say as well, my issue is also, but why do the teams like the Yankees and Dodgers not? Because they essentially base. I know there's some nuances, right? But like, when you look at what they're spending on payroll, yes, they might spend it at the top dollar, right, to where they can. But like, if I'm Bob Nutting, I can look and say, well, why do I not have to make any revenue, but those guys can just make hand over fist? You know, that's where, like, if I'm going to be a sympathizer at, like, that's where I can understand. So that's why my whole argument from day one too isn't so much all of this. Also, it's like, you know, Bob Nutting's doing the same as everyone else. Like, it's not so much just a Bob Nutting thing. It is the MLB owner thing. All the owners are doing this. Don't praise the Yankees because they're spending $200 million when they're getting 600 plus in revenue. You know, like the Yankees are paying the same payroll today as they were 20 years ago. You tell me they can't spend more than that? They absolutely can. They're just as cheap as Bob Nutting. So it's finding a way to get all the owners to get this money back into the kitty to get them to the players. You can't just force Bob Nutting to do it when he's the smallest piece of the pie, because the Pirates bringing a lot less revenue than all the other top dogs. How do I get money out of the Yankees, out of the Dodgers, get that money into the pie to get to the players? And again, CBT is part of that. But that's still
definitely
nowhere
a fair
near
point.
where the players, you know, should be getting that money.
It's definitely a fair point. Like, Bob Nutting is spending the same amount of revenue, according to Forbes, basically, that everyone else is. But the Yankees, Dodgers, all those teams have the excuse that they're getting results. Bob Nutting has not shown enough results. And at the end of the day, he's not fielding a competitive team. So he doesn't get that excuse. It's a results-oriented business.
I mean, that's fair.
So if you're not spending money, and that's fine. That, I mean, the Yankees and Dodgers are making a hand over fist money, but they're winning games. And Bob Nutting has been the owner for how long and has 3 winning seasons? Well, 4, I guess, if we include the one that I don't, because that year sucked anyhow.
And that's why Tampa gets that pass, because they're the same as the Pirates, but they win, so they get the pass. Albeit they're still being sued. That's not dropped.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way that you solve the issue that you bring up is full-on revenue sharing, which isn't it's just not going to happen. just never going to happen.
Yeah, it's all about results. Like, the Yankees can spend what they spent 20 years ago, but they're still winning games. The Pirates haven't won games in 30 years almost.
So, anyway, so the CBT increased. We talked about that.
Yeah,
overall,
congrats.
though,
it kept up with the inflation from 10 years ago. Good for them.
Right. So, like, overall, I guess if we're gonna wrap this up, how do we feel about it? I mean, I could say, like, for me, baseball's back. That's, to me, most important. I mean, obviously they agree to it, so they both feel like they're comfortable with it. But there's so much freaking money coming to baseball. It's sick. Like, if I'm a player, I got baseball. We made some strides. Like, to me, I look at the CBA, I guess, to sum it up, I look at the CBA as the players laid some footprints to build upon now for 5 years. Like, getting the draft, getting the pool, right? Like, all this was like the legwork to then in 5 years, which I hope they're not at the level of hatred they are today, but to then really clamp down and say, we're going to need more of that.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaways from this deal are, one, we're not missing any games. Like, they pushed the season back a little bit, but we're still going to have a full baseball season, which they desperately needed. Like, they couldn't afford to lose games. So that's the big thing there. So props to both sides for at least getting something done, because I did not think that was going to happen. So kudos to everybody involved for getting that done. I think there's some big wins on both sides here. So if you're looking at from the players' standpoint, like, they secured more money for younger players. They cut down on the incentives for tanking. They cut down on the incentives to manipulate service time. So they kind of, those are three big things that they kind of wanted to address going into this, and all three of those things got addressed. If you're the owners, big win. Expanding the playoffs is a big win for the owners. Being able to enact some rule changes whenever they want is a big win. And then obviously they've been wanting an international draft forever, so the fact that that's even like on the table now as a possibility is a pretty big win for the owners as well. So both sides got some good things here that benefit them, and we didn't miss any games, which if you would have told me that 3 months ago, I would have disagreed with you.
Yeah.
I think we got about what we expected, at least as Pirates fans, where we're not going to see baseball look any different. Maybe a hair more than we originally thought player-wise. We thought about the expanded play. I don't know if we really thought that the lottery with the draft would happen. That might be the one concession I don't know if we thought about, but for the most part, I think we saw what we expected when we first started of it's baseball as per usual.
Ooh, excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah. Fundamentally, not much. I mean, the DH, which I think we all just expected about 2 years ago. You know what we didn't get into? Some fundamental changes. So the bigger bases, the banning of the shift.
Also, things that they haven't happened yet. So those are things that they agreed that they would talk about for 2023. But none of them actually are going into effect this year.
Well, I know it's not this year, but so it's not a done deal for 2023 either, though?
No. So it's beginning in 2023, they're going to have a committee of players, umpires, and like MLB people.
Right.
And they're going to be able to they're going to have a discussion on whether or not they should do that or not.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, yeah. They just basically wrote it into the CBA that they're going to discuss this for 2023.
Got you. All right.
Yeah.
Though, like all this stuff, though, I don't hate. Like the bigger bases, whatever. The banning the shift. Maybe just a semi-quick discussion on that. I think we kind of already have, but banning the shift, I'm okay with it. I think it helps the game. How they're going to do it, I just think we'll have to find out, I guess, but I'm cool with it.
It's kind of a wait and see game. I mean, it's all about how they implement it.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think bigger bases, I think I'm fine with, because I mean it's like 2 inches per side. Like I know you see the
is that big
side by side, and it's a total of like 4 inches bigger. Which, if you put the bases next to each other, it is bigger. But I'm fine with that.
We've all seen the photoshops, right? Did you see the one Ricky Henderson holding the bag? It was like the whole stadium.
I saw that there was one with Jose Altuve like sliding into the base, and like he was like hugging the base was bigger than Jose Altuve. But no, I'm fine with that.
Are we considering 4 inches big? Like,
oh yeah. But
you tell
average.
me, Tyler.
But as far as shift, fine. I could go either way with the shift, but I'm not gonna. I'll make an argument on either side. I'm fine with there being a ban on shifting. The one thing I would be against is the automated strike zone. That's the one thing I think I would kind of take a hard stance against at this point.
Yep, I feel the same. Cool. Well, with that said, guys, I guess we've said baseball's back. The Pirates can't officially make a first baseman signing right now, or a catcher signing, or any person who can hit a baseball signing. Do we think was over and under 48 hours? Will the Pirates make a signing?
Over.
I don't know if there's anybody out there who they would get, honestly. I think they're fine with this stupid, pathetic lineup.
Can't wait to get back to this discussion next week.
Thing is, I can't. I can't. We can talk about it. Like, there's so much we've wanted to do, we just can't. And now it's full go. Like, we can start actually being a site again, and a podcast, and a video, whatever you want to call us. We start doing these things again. So, I guess that said,
real quick before we leave, because of the changes to minimum salaries, the Pittsburgh Pirates payroll has increased the second most out of any team in baseball.
Are they at 40 million yet?
Probably not.
I don't know.
I don't think they can.
But their payroll goes up. Their payroll goes up by about $3.3 million.
So they're at 37. Good for them.
Just because of the increase.
Well, that's why they didn't get any free agents.
Yeah, they can't afford free agents now because of that.
We'll have enough to talk about next week.
I want to have another podcast. I still want to talk about all the stuff I want to talk about last week that I didn't get to. There's so much on my chest. No. All right. Yeah. I appreciate that, Jim. Ethan, Mr. Fact Checker, hasn't really caught on to us too much today. So I think we did a very good job.
That's good.
So kudos, Tyler. Kudos, Jim.
He's like the guy at the end of
Around the
PTI.
horn?
Like
Yeah,
the fact checker. Yeah. Rinaldi, is that his name?
Yeah. Tony.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he just commented and said, "Where is that, Jim?" I think he wants to know where you found that data.
Yes. Ethan, check out Alex Stumpf actually retweeted it. John Becker at John Becker from Fangraphs, roster resource guy, tweeted it out. So yeah, I'll retweet it so it's kind of at the top of your list.
No, he's calling you out, more or less. It's not that you want to know. He's calling you out. He says he has 2.5 increase, total of 37.4. You dummy.
Fangraphs says 3.367. So
who listens to Fangraphs when you have Ethan right here?
Don't yell at me. Yell at John. There you go. This is your opportunity to go on Twitter. Tell John that he's wrong.
Oh boy,
I'm sure
Ethan's got a list of baseball people that hate him.
John wants to be correct, right? You want to make sure that he's handing out correct information. Apparently, he's handing out wrong information. So make sure that you correct him, Ethan.
By the way, he wasn't calling you out.
I just retweeted it for you. I just retweeted it for you. So, I was spreading that misinformation around the internet. So, but I wanted to spread it so that you could see it.
Ooh, can I use my down button now? You guys saw it on Twitter, right? The down button for irrelevant comments or something like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't use the Twitter app. So yeah.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll finally get out for real now. Anything else you want to add in here, Jim? Any other misinformation you want to spread?
Nope.
Tyler?
Nope.
Did you come to the conclusion? It's 4 inches average?
Yeah, we'll see if we have any other different gendered guests next week to let me know.
All right. Well, on that note, we will see you guys later. Pirates Baseball is back. Bye-bye.
Sagro Scouts.
See you guys.